So, welcome to the Crystal Racing Podcast Live. Is Carlos Sainz a better driver than Charles Leclerc? Big question I asked on my Twitter page the other day. And there were a few people getting ruffled by that question. So, it's a very hard one to answer because, of course, Charles Leclerc is an exceptional qualifier. His general outright pace is, I think, is somewhat greater than Carlos Sainz, but Carlos Sainz makes significantly fewer mistakes. I mean, we have to remember Charles Leclerc is now, 26 years old? And we have to also remember Carlos Sainz is way better doing pit strategy calls than Charles Leclerc is. But yet, of course, Ferrari have decided Carlos Sainz is surplus to requirements and that he will be getting replaced by Lewis Hamilton for next season. Of course, that's obviously gave Ferrari a huge boost to their stock prices. And of course, we're going to be seeing a very interesting combination of Leclerc and Hamilton together next season at Ferrari. I mean, I know it was slightly pretty much was an opinion I came up with shortly after Carlos Sainz won at Australia. But since then, though, I think the hype has cooled off. It's just more of a case of maybe, possibly in some aspects, but it is very 50-50 between Sainz and Leclerc in terms of how good each one is. I mean, obviously, Charles Leclerc is 3 years younger, and of course, he was signed by Ferrari back in 2019, while Sainz had to wait until 21 to replace Vettel. Honestly, the thing with Charles Leclerc is that he's definitely got a much higher ceiling than Sainz, while Sainz has a much higher floor than Leclerc, who, as we all know, can be pretty awful when the car is not working to his liking. Whilst Carlos Sainz, as we've seen in his performances at Toro Rosso and McLaren, is very handy at driving a midfield car, regardless of what state it's in. He is somewhat similar to Fernando Alonso, albeit without the extraordinarily high ceiling that Alonso has as well. The fact is, I am still adamant that Mercedes and Red Bull have got to somehow find a way of signing Carlos Sainz for next season. It's not like, I mean, let's face it, Sergio Perez, that guy is not the future for Red Bull. He's a reliable number two, but of course, like we saw at Miami and Australia, he's still prone to making stupid mistakes under pressure. It's not exactly ideal. As for Charles Leclerc, I mean, Mercedes, of course, they've got a spare seat available now that Lewis Hamilton will be leaving the team for 2025. I mean, of course, I know Kimi Antonelli is an option for the Mercedes boys, although it very much is dependent on how well he does that in Formula 2 for Premier this season. Thing is, though, Kimi Antonelli is surely going to Williams. He's not experienced enough for that second Mercedes seat. He's still only 18 years old. Carlos Sainz would be an ideal fit in the meantime, and he would be a good benchmark to see how good George Russell truly is. I mean, yes, Lewis Hamilton, of course, we have to remember he's now 39 years old. How much can Mercedes really measure George Russell to an aging 7-time world champion? It is very questionable because, of course, there's times where Hamilton's on top, but then there's other times where Russell's on top, and it is very hard to gauge whether that's a result of Hamilton aging or whether that's actually a proof that George Russell is the real deal. But I have to say, though, if there ever was a driver partnership on this year's grid that was close to being 51 to 49% in terms of who was the better driver, it's actually going to be Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Oh, hello there, Silverback. Carlos is the second best driver in Formula One. That is bold. That is bold, mate. I'd like to see you explain why you think Carlos is the second best driver in Formula One. Second best. So you're saying, I don't know. I mean, at this point in time, I've had it down that Max Verstappen would be the best driver just about ahead of Alonso, but it has to be said, God, I mean, I've said this many times. I mean, maybe Carlos is a narrow third ahead of Charles Leclerc, and then just ahead of Lando Norris in fifth place, and then I don't even know where Hamilton and Russell really are, but I think, behind Max and Alonso, it's like 5 or 6 drivers all fighting for third place in terms of who's the third best driver. Good shout, though, but, and what was my next topic? Oh, yeah, what else did I say on that unpopular F1 Twitter takes? It was, of course, between 2003 and 2007, I proclaimed that Kimi Raikkonen was the best driver in F1 between those 5 years of 03 to 07. That's right, folks. I didn't hold back. I know it's an opinion that winds quite a few fans up, but you have to remember, if it wasn't for Kimi Raikkonen's Mercedes going kapong at the 2003 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, regardless of what point system was used, whether it was the top 6 system, the top 8 system, or even the top 10 system as we know it, Kimi Raikkonen would have been 2003 World Champion had he won that race. That race still lives rent-free in my head, as you know. Unbelievable. I mean, Kimi Raikkonen, under the top 8 point system, finished just 2 points behind Michael Schumacher in what was an amazing breakout year. Yeah, he won his first race at Malaysia, and then he took about 7 second places throughout the season in what was a 2-year-old McLaren chassis design. I know some are very cynical about the statistics I gave out there, saying that, well, just because the MP418 chassis failed and was a botched job, well, you got to realise it did take away a lot of McLaren's resources in developing what was a failed car. Of course, as it was, that car design would be would influence the MP419 and the MP420 extremely heavily, and in many ways it influenced the MP422 car that, of course, got disqualified from the constructors and ultimately narrowly missed out on the 2007 Drivers' Championship, and the 23 car that, of course, did successfully help Lewis Hamilton become world champion in 2008. And of course, some would proclaim that it was Ferrari who really designed that car. Got to be said, though, I mean, as for 2004, Kimi Raikkonen's engine in that McLaren Mercedes just kept failing. It completely cost him any opportunity to win the championship that year. I'll get back to you, Silverback. Of course, but Kimi did win the Belgian Grand Prix later that year. Then, of course, 2005, 7 race wins for Kimi. We've got to remember Kimi had 3 engine failures throughout the season. Not 3 engine failures, I mean 4 engine penalties, I beg your pardon, which dropped Kimi 10 places down the grid. French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours, British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and of course the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. But of course, that qualifying session was rained out anyway. And of course, 3 further mechanical failures was leading: San Marino at Imola, Europe at Germany, where his car broke down on the last lap, and of course the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Then, of course, we have to remember 2006. Once again, McLaren let Kimi down by designing another car that just simply wasn't quick enough nor reliable enough to win the championship. Kimi had enough, and he packed his bags to Ferrari, where he, by the skin of his teeth, became a world champion by just 1 point. I have done research to show that of course, had there been the top 6 or the top 10 point score existed for 2007, Kimi would have won that championship by more than 1 point. And of course, we have to remember Kimi actually had 2 mechanical failures throughout 2007 when his car broke down at the Spanish Grand Prix and the European Grand Prix in 2007 was, of course, Hamilton and Alonso, who had replaced him at McLaren, somehow had 0 mechanical failures. And all their problems throughout the year were self-inflicted. So really, Kimi was, without a shadow of a doubt, the best driver in the sport by that point. 2008, I don't want to go through it. Of course, best drivers right now, Max, Carlos, Lando, Hamilton, Fernando. Wait, Charles is not in your top 6 best drivers. That is controversial. So, wow, you only rate Fernando 5th best. That is pretty big there. What was my next opinion? Yeah, well, oh yeah, I think I'll leave it a bit later on. I've got to say, I mean, Charles Leclerc, do we really think he's going to be a world champion? I've got a video coming up for him later on. I mean, I've also got a video on whether George Russell could be a world champion. I mean, I agree, though, he's definitely nowhere near close to the top 5 best drivers in F1. I mean, heck, I mean, you could put a few other young drivers in the grid, and I think George Russell's true level is about to be exposed soon. Yes, my third opinion on my Twitter unpopular opinions was, of course, Daniel Ricciardo would have been the 2021 world champion had he stayed at Red Bull. Now that one really got people going. That one got people going. Me proclaiming Ricciardo would have been a world champion. Oh my lord! I was really going for some people's necks at that. And now come to think of it, I don't know what I was I smoking something? Had I drank something funny the night before? But yeah, Daniel Ricciardo, I mean, my belief is, of course, with Daniel Ricciardo is that he is the sort of driver, if you give him a car he likes, he can drive it very well. But as we all know, Daniel Ricciardo just decided to leave Renault in 2019 because he just felt like he was wasting his time at Red Bull. And of course, Renault offered a very nice compensation package to leave Red Bull. Gotta say, it's not gone very well for Ricciardo with 1 race win at the 2021 Monza Grand Prix, which funnily enough came when, of course, Verstappen and Hamilton collided. I mean, the thing with Ricciardo is that the only reason why I proclaim Ricciardo could have been a world champion in 2021 is just basically him knowing the car, him knowing the team, him playing mind tricks with Max and Hamilton. Say Ricciardo says, I don't believe Ricciardo has been good enough since 2020, to be honest. Yeah, but you have to remember, though, I am talking about Ricciardo staying at Red Bull. Not whether, I mean, you got to realise, of course, going to McLaren, it was a totally different car, new brakes, new suspension, just an understeery style of car that just did not suit his driving style, compared to, of course, the late braking style of Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, who thrived in that McLaren. Of course, McLaren's car does require a very strange driving style to get the best out of it, which, of course, Daniel Ricciardo, as we all know, could not get his head around. I mean, the fact of the matter is, but having said that, though, Ricciardo did only pick up 3 pole positions in his time at Red Bull, despite winning 7 races. And most of those 7 races did come because he did rely upon other drivers crashing out or making a mistake or having mechanical issues of some sort. I mean, I have to say this is an argument that even I'm not that super convinced of, because I mean, I think towards the end of his time at Red Bull, on average, Daniel Ricciardo was getting out qualified by about approximately 0.3 of a second by Max in 2018. To be honest, though, as much as it probably hurts Ricciardo fans who keep defending him on the premise that Max Verstappen had very much become the number one at that team. The fact is, though, we've not seen any other teams in the sport outside of Mercedes, Ferrari, or Red Bull Challenge or World Championships since, I don't know, 2012, 2013-ish, when McLaren were challenging, Lotus were there or thereabouts. I mean, the hybrid regulations have been a disaster for the sport. Although, to counter that as well, he's done well when you consider the best car he's ever driven is the RB12. Which one was that? The 2016 car. That's interesting because, to be honest, I think the RB17 and the RB18, no, the RB13 and the RB17 in 2017 and 2018 were better than what he had in 2016. Mate, I kind of think when it comes down to it, Ricciardo's appetite for hard work and success had just evaporated by 2018, and he had already taken the retirement route, just like Kimi, shockingly enough. But of course, Ricciardo, being 29 years old, had to keep up the whole narrative that he was still hungry for more success. But of course, behind that smile of the honey badger, deep down, Ricciardo just wanted to take the money, really, by that time. I mean, I've got to say it, I think even the biggest Daniel Ricciardo fans have been very disappointed by him in the past few years. And to be honest, it's a shame. It's a shame because if Ricciardo had managed to somehow steal the 2021 championship, then he could have gone for his retirement package after that. Let's see this. After Ricciardo won at Monaco, he was probably satisfied with his career, to be honest. Yeah, I think, what was it? I know Ricciardo was so angry after the 2016 Monaco Grand Prix when his team forgot to bring the tyres out, meaning that he lost the race to Hamilton. But I don't know, it just seemed to be with Ricciardo, he did seem a bit too happy after he won at 2018 Monaco, when it just seemed like, well, I've got 7 Grand Prix wins to my name. I've achieved everything I've ever wanted. Win a few races in F1, become a multi-millionaire. It is just a shame, really. It's like he just conceded defeat to Max deep down. It's like he just couldn't. I mean, I know he made comments about how Max was like a F1 geek who just could never get enough of Formula 1, who would just be obsessed with every detail to success and all that and all sorts. It's a shame because, you know, Ricciardo was fast. Well, I wouldn't say he was faster than Vettel, but he was matching Vettel in 2014. I mean, it's a shame. I really did think Ricciardo was going to be a potential world champion in 2014. I'm not kidding. I'm not like exaggerating. I'm not like fanboying over him either. I'm just saying that I was quite convinced for a while that Ricciardo was a world champion in the making, until, of course, it became really obvious that Max Verstappen was the literal generational talent of his peers. I mean, as for Charles Leclerc, well, I mean, I know Silverback said that Charles Leclerc will never win a world championship. That is very, very controversial. I mean, I know Charles can be a bit limited in some aspects in terms of his ability to communicate with engineers, his ability to make strategy calls on the fly, compared to Carlos, who's so sharp, despite his own lack of raw pace relative to Leclerc. But you gotta realise, I mean, you've got to realise, I think I said this before, the ceiling for Charles is higher than what Sainz has had. Sainz might have a higher floor, but Charles has a higher ceiling. if you understand what I mean. You know, Carlos will always deliver a high minimum performance, but Leclerc is capable of delivering a higher maximum performance. I mean, yeah, of course, we also have to remember that Carlos has never actually been in a championship fight, and his start to 2022 was pretty poor. I mean, and of course, you know, it's a bit of a weird one because Leclerc also has significantly more pole positions than Carlos Sainz. I think Leclerc has 18 poles, and I think Sainz has only got about 2 or 3. Not even that, maybe. And I think, but despite all of that, Carlos Sainz has 3 Grand Prix wins, and Charles has only got 5 wins. I know Charles has been victim of mechanical failures before, but and of course Ferrari's infamously bad strategy course, but it's just so close between these two. I mean, it's almost like I kind of think cynically, like Ferrari just decided to sign Lewis Hamilton because they are scared that eventually at some point down the road in the next few years, had Sainz remained at Ferrari, that eventually he would end up falling out with Charles Leclerc. It's a tough one, really. But of course, Lewis Hamilton is getting old, and you have to ask yourself, how many more years does Lewis Hamilton has got in him? Is this just a retirement package for Lewis? The cynic in me really does think it might well be. And then, of course, Ferrari have got to look for a new driver after that. And who is that new driver going to be? Is it going to be Oliver Behrman? Is it going to be Lando Norris? I don't know. So, you know, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.